I think in the Trump White House, the scales have now fallen from their eyes about Putin. And there is a real possibility that in just a couple of days, August the 8th, isn't it? Those countries, third countries that have been enabling Putin's war by buying his hydrocarbons, India and China, will be hit hard by secondary sanctions. And of course, I don't think any of those countries imagined for a second when this war began that they might in time be visited by that kind of punishment. And I dwell on the lesson of Ukraine, but not because the comparison is perfect. Clearly there are important differences. But to make this basic point that if you trigger violence.
This is my video update on this Tuesday afternoon, August the 5th. Let's talk about some news, and let's start things off with Trump posting on Truth Social that he will now raise the tariffs against India because India continues to purchase Russian oil, and this is funding the Russian war machine, and Trump don't like it. I don't like it at all. So Trump posted on Truth Social yesterday evening, my time. That's when I saw this post on Truth, and let me read it to you. 1 second. India is not only buying massive amounts of Russian oil, they are then, for much of the oil purchased, selling it on the open market for big profits. They don't care how many people in Ukraine are being killed by the Russian war machine. Because of this, I will be substantially raising the tariff paid by India to the USA. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Well, I think that changes everything. The fact that India is selling this oil on the open market for big profits, that changes everything, man. Yeah, 1,000% tariffs on India, I say. No, change that. 10 million% tariffs on India. 10 million% bone-crushing tariffs on India because they dare to sell this oil on the open market for big profits? Man, India. What are you doing, India? Anyway, Trump going after India hard. Going after India hard. The Trump White House, the neocons that now control the Trump White House, they believe that if they can put enough pressure on India, India will stop buying Russian oil. And they believe that if India stops buying Russian oil, which is sold back to the collective West, by the way, so keep that in mind. But if they can stop India from purchasing Russian oil, then they believe this will force Putin to agree to the Kellogg ceasefire plan. This is what this is all about. They've been trying with China now for 3 months, trying to pressure China to ditch Russia, and China is having none of it. Actually, China yesterday, they once again rejected the Trump ultimatum. China pushes back on U.S. demand to stop buying Russian and Iranian oil. China will ensure its energy supplies in accordance with national interests. We are firmly determined to protect our sovereignty, security, and development interests. This is from the Associated Press, quoting a Chinese official. So yeah, they've been trying with China. They continue to try with China, but China continues to push back and to to tell the Trump administration that they are going to look after their national interests. Who are you to tell us from where we can purchase oil and energy and stuff like that? So they're trying with India now, and they are trying to pressure India, believing that if India were to choose between BRICS and the United States, India would choose the United States. And if India decides to stop purchasing Russian oil, then this would force Putin to capitulate. That is the Hail Mary panic strategy from the Trump White House. And they're panicking because they're losing, and Trump knows that with the Ukraine loss, he will be blamed for the defeat. He let Biden and Sullivan and Blinken, Newland, Austin, he let them off the hook when it comes to Project Ukraine. And now he's trying in a panic. His White House is trying in a panic to get India on side. India is having none of it. They are having none of it. They are telling the Trump administration, in much the same way that China is telling the Trump administration, that India will decide from who they will purchase their oil and gas and energy from. India put out a statement, I believe a 4 or 5 point statement, where they highlighted the collective West's hypocrisy, noting that the United States purchases uranium from Russia, fertilizer. The United States purchases fertilizer from Russia, and that Europe imports oil and natural gas from Russia. So they highlighted the hypocrisy in all of this. They also noted that the Biden administration wanted, this is what India claims, that the Biden administration wanted India to sell the oil back to the EU, to Europe, when the sanctions were placed on Russia, because if India did not do this, then we might have seen the prices go way, way up when they decided to place sanctions on Russia, and they were not prepared for a complete cutoff of Russian energy to Europe. So the idea was that India would purchase the Russian oil at a discount, at a favorable price, and then they would sell it back to Europe at a big markup. But at least it would keep some stability in the markets. Actually, let me pull up India's statement. India has been targeted by the United States and the European Union for importing oil from Russia after the commencement of the Ukraine conflict. In fact, India began importing from Russia because traditional supplies were diverted to Europe after the outbreak of the conflict. The United States, at the time, actively encouraged such imports by India for strengthening global energy markets stability. It's true. I vaguely remember the Biden administration, though I couldn't find any articles or statements or quotes on this. But I do remember the Biden administration talking about the fact that India selling the oil to Europe at a higher price at least provides some stability in the oil markets. As long as the oil wasn't going to Europe, directly to Europe, from Russia to Europe, it was okay. If it was going via India, and India was buying it at the price cap that the Biden administration had put out there, the $62 price cap, then everything was okay. So India pointed that out. One second, I have some other things that India pointed out, the hypocrisy of the West. The U.S. imports from Russia $1.3 billion in 2024 and 27% of enriched uranium at about 800 million, and the EU 23 billion to Russia in 2024, for 30 to 40 BCM gas and 25 BCM LNG. June 2025 alone was 1.5 billion LNG imports. Russia still supplies 70% LNG and 11% pipeline gas to the EU. This is according to the New York Times and Reuters, as well as Bellona.org. So yeah, the hypocrisy of this tariff increase towards India, this push, this attack against India to stop purchasing Russian oil when Russian oil and LNG and fertilizer and uranium is still being purchased by the United States and by the European Union. This is also all about breaking up BRICS, causing problems in BRICS, right? If you get India to fold, then you cause big time problems in BRICS. So anyway, that is what Trump posted on Truth Social yesterday. More tariffs are a-coming, according to Trump. Higher tariffs are a-coming, according to Trump, directed at India. And Russia, they announced that they will be pulling out of the INF treaty. Russia no longer considers itself bound by the nuclear treaty with the U.S. Conditions for maintaining a unilateral moratorium on the deployment of intermediate range missiles have disappeared, the foreign ministry in Moscow has said. So yeah, this was unilateral by Russia. They were staying in this treaty unilaterally. Trump pulled out of the INF in 2018. The United States claims that in 2013, that Russia had violated the INF treaty. Russia denied this. And in 2018, Trump pulled out of the treaty. Russia decided to stay in the treaty unilaterally. And now, 2025, Russia is officially pulling out of the INF. Russia claims that the United States is now violating the treaty with various military tests of missiles that are being conducted actually in Australia. And so they're looking at these tests and they're saying, you know what? This violates the INF treaty and we're pulling out of the treaty, and that's that. The INF treaty, which banned ground-launched missiles with ranges of 500 to 5,500 kilometers, collapsed in 2019 when Washington withdrew, citing Russian violations. Moscow has denied the claims, accusing the U.S. itself of developing banned missiles. Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned that the collapse of the INF will significantly erode global security framework, the global security framework. The INF treaty is the 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Medvedev posted on X. I wonder if Trump is going to reply to this Medvedev post, if this is going to trigger Trump. Anyway, Medvedev posted the Russian Foreign Ministry's statement on the withdrawal of the moratorium on the deployment of medium and short-range missiles is the result of NATO countries' anti-Russian policy. This is a new reality all our opponents will have to reckon with. Expect further steps. A new reality that we all have to live with now. The world has become a much more dangerous place. And Medvedev is saying to expect further steps. So the European Union is going to be sanctioning China. I got to work on that. My Trump China. I don't like it. China. Okay, I'll work on it. Anyway, the EU, in their infinite stupidity, after being pummeled by Trump during the trade talks, they decided to dig deeper, to dig that hole even deeper, And they are now going to be sanctioning China. This is according to Politico. This should actually be my clown world. The reason that the EU is now going to place sanctions on China is because of the claim from the European Union. I actually talked about this a couple of weeks ago, which is that drone motors are being supplied to Russia, and it's being disguised as refrigerators from China to Russia. So refrigerators that are being sent to Russia are actually not refrigerators, but they are hiding drone motors, and these drone motors are powering Putin's war machine. And so the European Union is taking action, and they are now going to sanction Russia. It's ridiculous, man. It is ridiculous. Russia makes nuclear reactors and hypersonic missiles and outproduces, according to NATO CEO Mark Rutte, Russia outproduces all of the collective West. In 3 months, Russia makes more missiles, more weapons, more artillery, more of everything than the collective West does in an entire year. But when it comes to drone motors, just can't make them. Just can't make them. Call in China and let's disguise those drone motors as refrigerators. Ursula and her washing machine, ships that are powering the fighter jets and the tanks. And now we have the drone motors, the refrigerators that are hiding drone motors to power up the drones and the shovels. What are we to do? What are we to do? I think the EU is preparing in the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months. They're even preparing the 19th sanctions package. Is that where we are now? Are we on number 19 or number 20 or number 27? Man, this has to be deliberate. This has to be deliberate. The European Union is deliberately destroying itself. That has to be the only explanation for this. And the only thing that I can think of is that the EU kleptocrats, they're destroying the European Union, the economies of the EU member states, in order to consolidate more power and to stay in power and to centralize everything. That's the only way I can describe this. And of course, they're going to blame it on Russia and on China. But the goal here is to remain in power and to consolidate power and to centralize power. And the only way that you can do that, or one of the ways that you can do that, is if you weaken the economies of the member states. That's my only explanation to any of this. So that's the news out of the European Union. And we are also getting reports, actually, that when it comes to Patriot systems, EU countries are reluctant to hand over those Patriot systems to Zelensky, because the waiting time to receive new Patriot systems is 7 freaking years. 7 years. So if they hand over the Patriot systems that they have now, they will have to wait, according to a French military official, 7 years before they get a replacement Patriot system. And the Netherlands, the defense minister of the Netherlands, he announced yesterday that the Netherlands is stepping up. The Netherlands is stepping up, and they are going to be sending Ukraine $500 million worth of Patriot stuff, Patriot stuff, parts and missiles and stuff like this. Not a complete like Patriot system, Patriot air defense system or battery, but 500 million worth of parts and interceptors and these things. And the defense secretary, defense minister of the Netherlands is urging all collective West countries EU, NATO members to follow in the Netherlands' example and to start sending whatever they can with regards to Patriot systems to Project Ukraine. And the NATO CEO, Mark Rutte, also praised the Netherlands for taking the lead in sending Patriot things to the Green Goblin. 7-year waiting time for Patriots. If you give over your Patriot systems to Ukraine, you will have to wait 7 years. But I thought Russia is going to be invading Europe in 2027, so that's not going to jive, right? If Russia's going to be invading in 2027, and I do some Annalena Baerbock math, the waiting time for Patriot systems is 7 years if you hand it over to Ukraine. And when you hand it over to Ukraine, the Russian military would destroy those Patriot systems pretty quickly now. And you're going to have to wait 7 years. But 2027 is in less than 2 years if I do Annalena math, right? Less than 2 years, 2027. So yeah, that's quite a problem that NATO has, that European NATO has, because Russia, according to their military experts, is preparing an invasion of NATO in 2027. I don't know what that is, what that sticker is. Anyway, Zelensky was in Kharkov yesterday, and he recorded a TikTok video. There you can see the Russian shadow fleets. Just kidding, Ursula. Those are legit ships, not Russian shadow fleet. Just kidding, Kaya Kallis. It's a joke. It's a joke. Anyway, Zelensky was in Kharkov, and he recorded a TikTok video in front of the sign in Kharkov. And we all know the pattern, right? Whenever Zelensky records a TikTok video in front of one of these Ukraine city signs, eventually that city is captured by Russia. So it looks like Kharkov will be captured by the Russian military sooner or later. And Russia actually launched drones, and I believe missiles, into Kharkov yesterday, destroying some Ukraine military facilities in that city. Big city, Kharkov, second biggest city, I believe, in Ukraine, the one-time capital of Ukraine. If that was to be captured by Russia, well, then that would pretty much be the end of the Zelensky regime. Peskov was speaking to the media yesterday, and he was asked about a potential Putin Green Goblin summit. And Peskov said that Putin is open to meeting with Zelensky. Yeah, but once everything has been prepared for the signing of some sort of a negotiated settlement. That is what Peskov said. Putin-Zelensky meeting possible. A top-level summit can only take place once the necessary preparation is done by experts, spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said. Peskov said that Russia still considers Zelensky to be illegitimate, he said, but Putin would be willing to meet with Zelensky, but only after everything has been prepared for some sort of a final agreement, negotiating, signing ceremony of documents or whatever. Yeah, that's what Peskov said. You know, I can't help but think that when Russia says that they're ready to meet with Zelensky, or they will meet with Zelensky, as long as work has been done by the experts to get to some sort of a negotiated settlement, that this in some weird way, in some strange way, actually encourages the Trump White House to still believe that they can convince Putin to agree to the ceasefire, with the statements being made that, yeah, we'll meet with Zelensky once work has been prepared it emboldens the Trump White House to think, you know what, if we just put a little more pressure here and there, then we can get Putin to meet with Zelensky. Yes, Russia wants June 2024. Root cause is Istanbul Plus, but with the right pressure, given that Putin has agreed to meet with Zelensky, we can get Russia to agree to the Kellogg ceasefire plan. You know, these statements from the Kremlin, I understand why they make them, but I think it encourages the West to believe that they can force Russia to sign the Kellogg capitulation. Anyway, the Russian intel service, they put out a statement yesterday saying that the UK is preparing some sort of a sabotage attack on Russian tankers, on the Russian Ghost fleet. And the SVR, the Russian intel service, they said that this is going to come most likely in two forms. Either it's going to be some sort of an arson, a fire on a Russian tanker at a port, or it's going to be some sort of a sabotage of a Russian tanker as it's passing through some sort of a canal like the Suez Canal or something like that, which will then create a bottleneck for other ships. And the reason that they want to do this sabotage, the UK, is they want to sabotage a Russian cargo ship, and then they're going to call in investigators, and the investigators are going to see what's going on, and they're going to say, you see, the Russian cargo ships are a danger to oil trade, and this is going to push the Trump White House to place further sanctions on Russian energy. That's what the SVR, the Russian intel, is saying. UK plotting attack on oil tanker. A sabotage operation endangering maritime traffic could allegedly be used to justify a NATO crackdown on Russian exports. The statement claimed that UK spies are considering either blocking a maritime traffic bottleneck by damaging an oil tanker it claims as part of a shadow fleet, or staging a major fire at a nation friendly to Russia during a port call by one of the vessels. I imagine that this sabotage, the goal of a sabotage like this, if this report from Russian intel is true, if it's accurate, that one of the purposes of this type of sabotage would be to try and seize Russian tankers in the open sea, right? As they're traveling around the world, this would be used as a reason for NATO warships to try and seize those tankers, which is something they've been wanting to do for a while now. But Russian ships are now being accompanied by Russian warships. But this type of sabotage might, if this is true, might push the Trump administration to come out and say, okay, the U.S. and NATO is now going to target and seize and confiscate Russian ships and Russian cargo anywhere in the world. That could be the aim of this sabotage mission by the UK, if this is a true and accurate statement from the SVR. And now we move to perhaps the biggest story of yesterday, which is the disaster funds fiasco. The disaster funds fiasco for states in the United States, for states in the United States that boycott Israel. Reuters put out an article with the title, U.S. links $1.9 billion in state disaster funds to Israel boycott stance. And Reuters reported that the Trump administration said states and cities will not receive funding to prepare for natural disasters if they choose to boycott Israeli companies, according to an agency statement. States must certify that they will not cut off commercial relations, specifically with Israeli companies, to receive the money from the Federal Emergency Management Agency according to the agency's terms for grantees. Man, did this report from Reuters cause an uproar. Rightly so. Rightly so. Basically, Reuters report and then people going into the documents from the DHS and the terms and conditions for disaster funds. They actually went into these documents, and the report proved to be accurate and true from Reuters. Basically said that states, if they boycott Israel, will not be granted disaster relief money. An incredible story that Reuters broke yesterday, and this did a whole lot of damage to the Trump White House. It did so much damage to the Trump White House that they walked everything back. Within a day, they walked everything back, and they changed the terms in the DHS documentation from disclose.tv. Trump DHS stealth edits reversal of withholding disaster funds for states and cities who boycott Israel. Trump reportedly lifted restrictions on disaster funds for states and cities boycotting Israel, but the revised DHS document keeps the vague term discriminatory prohibited boycott, originally defined as boycotting Israel. So they had this provision in the documents. If you boycott Israel, you will receive no money for disasters. And then they revised it, but according to disclose.tv, and they've highlighted the section in the DHS documents with this revision, the before and after, that this still remains vague, even though they removed the part which specifically says boycotting Israel. The wording is still vague, so that this could possibly be enforced. Let me zoom in. Give me 1 second and read you what's going on. So point D in the original version says discriminatory prohibited boycott means refusing to deal, cutting commercial relations, or otherwise limiting commercial relations, specifically with Israeli companies or with companies doing business in or with Israel, or authorized by, licensed by, or organized under the laws of Israel to do business. And then you go a little further down on point 2, section 2, they do not engage in and will not, during the term of this award, engage in a discriminatory prohibited boycott. So that's the original version. And then the walkback amended version removes the part D that I read out to you, which specifically names Israel, and it just has point 2, section 2, they do not engage in and will not, during the term of this award, engage in a discriminatory prohibited boycott. So it leaves that part in there, that section 2 part. They will not engage in and will not, during the term of this award, engage in a discriminatory prohibited boycott. That's the revised version. So it does leave things a bit open and a bit vague, but they removed the section that specifically names Israel. I apologize for the way I read that. The text is really small, and I had to zoom in a whole lot, and it was a little blurry as I was zooming in. But I think everyone got the gist of this. So this was a huge debacle for the Trump White House. I don't know if Trump gave this order. I don't know if someone else decided to put this in there. But everyone was furious. Everyone in America First, MAGA, Trump supporters were furious. Even Steve Bannon, posted on Getter, the social platform Getter, posted Israel first. That's it. That's coming from Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon supports Israel. At least that's my understanding of Steve Bannon's position with regards to the United States and Israel, but he even posted on Getter, Israel first. So Trump had to walk it back, but it's not a complete, the Trump White House had to walk it back. It's not a complete walk back. And a lot of people are asking the question, was this coming from Trump, from the president, or was this a directive from other people in the White House? And does the United States still have an America First agenda? A lot of people very upset with this development, as reported by Reuters. A lot of damage being done to the Trump White House. A lot of people said that this would be illegal. I read a lot of analysis which said something like this would be illegal, to withhold disaster funds to American citizens, to states, and to people affected by disasters, American citizens affected by disasters because of another country. This would be an illegal action. Anyway, we're going to stick with Israel, and we are getting reports that Netanyahu, as he was speaking to officials in his government, that he said Israel is ready to occupy the Gaza Strip. From Newsweek, Netanyahu has decided on full occupation of Gaza Strip, according to reports. The die is cast. We are going for a full occupation of the Gaza Strip. There will be operations even in areas where hostages are being held. If the IDF chief of staff doesn't agree, he should resign. A senior official close to Netanyahu was quoted by Ynet as saying. So this probably doesn't surprise many analysts at all, who have been saying for a long time now that the ultimate goal of everything that is happening in Gaza is an eventual annexation, takeover of Gaza. And so the analysts that have been following this story and that have said that the goal is to take Gaza, they have been proven correct. And we also got the news yesterday that the Netanyahu's government unanimously votes to remove the Israeli Attorney General who is prosecuting him for corruption. So it looks like moves are being made so that Netanyahu does not face any type of prison time should he not remain in power. So Pam Bondi, since we're talking about attorney generals, the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, she is bringing indictments, or it looks like she's going to be calling a grand jury to bring indictments for Russiagate. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi signed an order to call up a grand jury to seek possible indictments in the Trump-Russia hoax. Bondi has ordered a federal prosecutor to deliver evidence given by DNI Tulsi Gabbard to a grand jury. So what about Epstein? Is Pam Bondi going to do anything about Epstein, or is that's done, right? They're not going to deal with Epstein. They're going to focus on Russiagate. That's going to be the focus. Oh man, I feel like this whole video was a clown world, man. Things are going from bad to worse. So let's do a clown world. And we go back to Trump's Truth Social posts. And he posted on Sydney Sweeney. Yesterday, the President of the United States, because he doesn't have anything else to do, he posted this on Truth Social. Sydney Sweeney, a registered Republican, has the hottest ad out there. It's for American Eagle, and the jeans are flying off the shelves. Go get him, Sydney. On the other side of the ledger, Jaguar did a stupid and seriously woke advertisement. That is a total disaster. The CEO just resigned in disgrace, and the company is in absolute turmoil. Who wants to buy a Jaguar after looking at that disgraceful ad? Shouldn't they have learned a lesson from Bud Light, which went woke and essentially destroyed in a short campaign the company? The market cap destruction has been unprecedented, with billions of dollars so foolishly lost. Or just look at woke singer Taylor Swift. Ever since I alerted the world as to what she was by saying the truth that I can't stand her, hate, all caps, she was booed out of the Super Bowl and became no longer hot. The tide has seriously turned. Being woke is for losers. Being Republican is what you want to be. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I can't even get through these Truth Social posts, man. I really just have a hard time reading these posts. Okay, so the President of the United States is saying that Sydney Sweeney has the hottest advertisement, that Jaguar went woke because they put out a stupid commercial. They went woke. The CEO resigned. By the way, Jaguar, I believe, is owned by the Indian car company. Tanta is the name of the car company. I forgot the name of the car conglomerate that owns Jaguar. Anyway, Jaguar went woke, so they went broke. And then Trump alerted the world to Taylor Swift, and she was booed from the Super Bowl. And it pays to be a Republican. It's cool to be a Republican. Don't be Taylor Swift. And thanks to Trump, the whole world now understands who Taylor Swift is, and Sydney Sweeney's a Republican, and she's cool. And my God, my God, this is a day after Trump posted on Truth that he's going to be moving nuclear submarines because he got triggered from Dmitry Medvedev. So one day we have Trump posting on Truth Social that he's moving nuclear submarines somewhere in the region around Russia because Medvedev is making fun of Lindsey Graham, and you can't have none of that. And the next day we get a Truth Social post. We got two Truth Social posts talking about tariffs on India, because Trump's mad at India because India is selling Russian oil at a profit. And Sydney Sweeney's advertisement is hot. Jaguar sucks. Taylor Swift is booed at the Super Bowl. It's just all chaos, man. It is all chaos. By the way, since we mentioned Lindsey Graham actually praised Trump for his post on India, where he said he's going to raise tariffs on India. The foreign policy president of the United States said, "Well said, Mr. President. I appreciate your strong commitment to ending this bloodbath in Ukraine. Making those like India pay a price for their war profiteering is a good place to start." How is our friend, the Limassol turtle? Let me read that to you again. Or at least let me read that last sentence from the Lindsey Graham post. Making those like India pay a price for their war profiteering is a good place to start. This is coming from Lindsey Graham. Pay a price for their war profiteering is what Lindsey Graham posted. Lindsey Graham talking about war profiteering. I will leave it there. I will leave it there. Do I have any more clown worlds? I don't think so. I don't think so. From Aaron McIntyre, the media uncovered more about Sydney Sweeney's voting habits than they did about the guy who shot Trump. Good point. Yeah, we don't know much about the guy that tried to take out Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. And the evidence for Ryan Ruth is classified now. But we know that Sydney Sweeney has a very popular advertisement, and she's a registered Republican. Right? So many distractions. Oh, man. Anyway, that's the video. theduran.locals.com. Go to the Duran shop, pick up a Duran t-shirt like the shirt I'm wearing today in this video update. And check us out on X, and on Telegram and on Rumble, and give this video a like, and I will see everybody tomorrow. Take care.